We'd like to move on to our very first panel discussion this evening. This will be on zero trust and modern access controls, building secure digital government infrastructure. This panel will explore salient elements of zero trust network architecture and unified endpoint management strategies critical for securing our government digital infrastructure. Our panelists for panel 1 are Mr. Praveen Kumar, CISO at NICA. Can we please have a round of applause for Mr. Praveen Kumar? Praveen, sir? Yeah, it's on that side. Round of applause, please. So, kindly have a seat. Thank you so much. Panelist number 2, Mr. Amal Krishna, CISO at ONGC. Thank you, sir, for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, please, round of applause, please. Kindly take your seat. Second. Moderating this session is Mr. Prasad Deore, Vice President at Data Security Council of India. Please put your hands together for Prasad. Prasad, sir, thank you. Over to you. Mics, please. Nice.
Thank you so much, Shaurya. I know we have 25 to 30 minutes, and our CEO, Vinayak, when he was stepping out, he told me one thing clearly. Prasad, we've got a very great combination where we have both of them having protected India's critical infrastructure. Commander Praveen Kumar has served Indian Navy for 2 decades. Now with corporates since last 7 years, working as a group CISO for large companies. Amal sir, again, career spanning over 3 decades, protecting critical infrastructure like ONGC. He's executive director, CISO ONGC. So good mix of corporate and government experience, and a lot of learning that would come through. And I've been clearly told that I should not ask too many questions. I should let audience interact with them. So I will keep it to bare minimum. Maybe start with you, Praveen. How do you see in the recent past the security architecture has evolved, especially in last 5-6 years? When we talk about zero trust, it's always like never trust, continuous verification, validation. And once upon a time, we're in the world where you sign up or log in through VPN, and then you have a secured identity, and you could access a lot of things. So how is it evolving now? Would you highlight your thoughts on this?
Thanks, Prasad. Before I get to the point, firstly, thank you DSCI for giving me this opportunity. This is a special opportunity, I would say. It's very much different from the standard panels which we generally participate in, because it is kind of a homecoming for me. Having an audience largely leaders from the public sector is not a common thing. Probably this is one of its kind, which DSCS has started. Thanks, Sukrit, for this invite. Once Sukrit invited me, saying that he's planning to do a panel comprising of corporate and public sector veterans, and where he said that the majority of the participants are going to be public sector, I asked him first, whom am I representing? Sukrit did not have an answer. As Prasad just said, I have been major part of my life, I've been on the public sector side. I've been in the Indian Navy for over 2 decades, and now part of the corporate for the last 6-7 years. Coming to the point, the question which you just put, how has security evolved over the past few decades? If I have to answer it in a single word, I think it's evolved exponentially, largely driven by the bad actors. The hackers, the attackers have evolved so much in the last, say, 15 to 20 years that we've been doing the catching up game. Having said that, let me probably step back a couple of decades. I'm sure most of you are veterans here, and once you started your career in, say, IT or InfoSec, life was much more simpler. We largely looked at firewalls, maybe a bit of antivirus, and things were sorted, right? That was largely because businesses in those days were limited to being offline. Most of the businesses were offline. Computers were largely being used as productivity tools rather than business enablers, right? As you move forward, as time passed, the internet connectivity improved. Most of the businesses started moving online, and the hackers or the bad players also started evolving with time. We needed more tools to be plugged into our ecosystem to protect our businesses. And then came the new terms, or we cybersecurity folks are largely blamed for using too many jargons. The DLPs of the world, the SIEMs, the antiviruses, the VMs, the DSPMs, CSPMs, and so on and so forth. What they were doing largely was they were providing layered security for our organizations, let it be public or private sectors. What they were doing was providing layered security. If one fails, the other one kicks in, and if the other one fails, so on and so forth. But as I said, the attackers were much smarter. We were largely playing the catch-up game, and the attackers continuously kept breaking these defenses one after another. So then came a concept somewhere around 2010, though concept was very old, but yeah, 2010 was when this concept largely started getting popular, the ZTNA. What people understood was that take any attack in the history of cyber, the attacks were largely, in some part of the other, were related to identity. So why not focus on safeguarding identity was the idea behind this whole concept of ZTNA. So if you rewind back to say 2 decades, largely anybody who could prove his identity was given access to certain resources or to your organization. Come the new technology, what they said that let's not believe everybody who has been able to prove his identity, but however, let's have multiple parameters which can continuously prove the identity. What it essentially means is that rather than saying that Praveen has authenticated himself so he gets access to everybody, say that if Praveen has a particular kind of a device, has authenticated himself, is in a particular place, is able to, his device has got particular parameters and so on and so forth, only gets an access for a particular amount of time to a particular resource only. So that's the difference between the way traditionally identity was managed versus what it means in the ZTNA world. So with that as the background, a lot of tools came into play which were enabling ZTNA. ZTNA is not a tool, it's a journey. Let's all remind. Just by implementing one tool, you will not be implementing a ZTNA model. It's a bunch of things you have to do. It's a journey for any organization, and the base of that journey remains identity.
Thank you so much, Praveen. I would come back to you on the implementation strategies for ZTNA. But before that, Amalji, you are handling critical infrastructure of the country in terms of critical sector company, rather. How do these concepts apply to you? You are also looking at IT as well as OT security. How does this paradigm of, or as he said, right, it's a concept, applies to organizations like ONGC?
Thank you first, DSCI, for giving me an opportunity for sharing my experience and my thoughts. See, ZTNA, I look at it in a slightly different way. If you go by the common sense, I would say we Indians have been using this zero trust concept right from Ramayana days. If you remember, there's a saying everyone would be knowing, Ghar ka bhedi lanka dhai. What was this? Don't trust anyone. So in the common sense, we have been using it, but in the organizational IT perspective and all, this came into being, particularly during the COVID. One fine day, suddenly we are told, from tomorrow everyone is working from home, and they need to connect to the office network. And we don't know how good their system is, whether it's protected, whether there is a malware or not. That is where, in real terms, in practical terms, this journey started for zero trust. Today also, it remains a challenge. We have a lot of people from the corporates here also, and a lot of us are using laptops and things like that. But an organizational laptop, if you see, a person who is carrying it, outside the office, it is just a piece of brick for him. If he wants it for a personal use, he has to carry another device. Why? Because still organizations don't have that full trust thing in him or in his other devices to allow him to give him full admin access to be able to do whatever he wants. The ideal condition should be that come what may, you use the device, whether it's a hacker only, my systems are such that they will not be attempted. Of course, it's an ideal condition, but that's the journey or the roadmap that should be. Now, coming to the IT and OT perspective. In the OT perspective, traditionally we have been safe and sound, saying that we are working in an air-gapped environment. And to top it all, for security, we have now, earlier we have enabled that there will be no pen drives allowed, no other electronic gadgets allowed, and then we are safe. Even if for some time, typically in OT, the challenge has been that the patches and other things that come after a definite period of time, maybe after 2 months or 3 months after the OT OEM releases that patch. So compared to IT, although at the bottom layer, at the foundation layer in OT also we use the same Windows systems, the same Windows servers, but the patching there is much slower. So when we talk of zero-day vulnerability and other things in the IT systems, in OT that's a strict no-no, because if we try to plug those zero-day things without testing, or if anything comes down, it's a big no-no. If you see from the priority perspective, in the IT area, we rely more on confidentiality and integrity, while in OT, the availability part is more important. So in ONGC, when we started this journey, earlier we had that total air gap thing, but slowly during the last 3-4 years, when we felt a need that there's a need for analytics, which requires predictive maintenance data and other data to be put on larger computing networks, particularly, or maybe on the cloud also, there was a need felt that how do we segregate these two areas in such a way that we get the data also, but at the same time, we don't make it vulnerable. So the concepts of using a data diode, which is a hardwired firewall with one-way traffic allowed, or other things that could do this was evolved, and we have been progressing on that journey using that kind of mechanism. Plus, the number of interface points has been reduced to a minimum. That way we have been doing. And in a real scenario, when you talk about zero trust, the basic concept that comes in is, if one device or one system is compromised, there should be no way that he gets into a parallel system which is in the same VLAN or in another VLAN, so that the damage is bare minimum. From that perspective, we have ensured that such things are in place, and we are on the journey. Of course, as he mentioned, zero trust is a journey. There are a number of things that need to be done, starting from the identity management, maybe a VPN that is secure, maybe a SD-WAN that is secure. All those things are basically different tools that enhance this journey, but it's an ongoing journey and we are on it.
Thank you so much, Amalji. Commander Praveen, when you say that, zero trust network architecture is a journey, which I agree, where do you see in general the ecosystem, or for that matter, if you can share about your organization, we are in that journey, and what kind of implementation approach is feasible? What are the typical strategies from architecture perspective or implementation perspective that should be taken into consideration when you are initiating this journey?
Before I touch upon that, once Amal Krishna ji, once he was saying that, largely in public sector, a laptop after the working hours is considered as a weight rather than anything else. I could really relate to it, and it took me back a few years back, once my prof at IIT Kanpur first said that security is inversely proportional to usability. Simple, if you want to increase security, your usability will go down. The more difficult it becomes for somebody to use something, the better security it is. But today's world, we are living in a space where we cannot trade off either of them. Security is as important as usability. I still remember my days in the defense forces, where we largely use computers, and wherever laptops were used also, those laptops were logged in the office only once we leave, because outside office it was of no use. You couldn't use it. We were trying to be safe than sorry. And probably in those days, as you rightly brought out, COVID was when this concept of zero trust really took off. Before that, it was there, but not as popular as it is today. And one of the customer-facing uses of zero trust was largely remote access, secure remote access. Though it's not the only one, but that is one thing which each of us would get out of such an implementation. Coming to the point about implementation of ZTN, as I told before, it is not a tool. It's not a point-in-time tool that I implement so-and-so tool and I have it, I am ZTNA, I'm using ZTNA. It's a journey. As I said, the base of that journey would be identity, managing the identity properly, having the right tools to govern, provide, and take access away. Second part is, are you able to give granular access to your users? By granular access, I mean that, as I just told in my previous part, can you enforce more rules onto a user rather than just saying that if a user has a user, if he is able to authenticate itself, he gets access. Do you have a system in place which can give granular access? For example, I say, please do not allow somebody, despite of him having the user ID or authentication methodology, can I have a system in place where I don't allow somebody based on other attributes? Attributes like, does your laptop have the necessary controls? Attributes like, is he in the right location where he is expected to be at that point of time? Attributes like, does he have access to that particular resource which he is asking? Right? If you have that underlying technologies in place to enforce such granular restrictions on a user, that becomes the base of your zero trust. Coming to the most important part, the zero trust private access, or what generally called in the industry as ZPA, zero trust private access, whereby we are removing the traditional VPNs, replacing it with, I would say, if I have to put it in a very simple word, replacing it with VPNs which can give you that granular access. Rather than saying that I have a VPN, I can touch upon any cloud resource, saying that this VPN would only give you access to a particular resource on the same cloud instance. So, last but not the least, apart from this, I think one thing which probably most OEMs have also missed out, because that's a difficult part of the overall zero trust journey, is segmentation of your network. As you rightly brought out, do your OT networks and IT networks need to talk to each other? If they require to, are we doing it in the right way? We've seen so many examples in the past 2 months also, where IT resource or IT network got compromised, and which went on to affect your OT systems, and there was a huge downtime for large organizations which resulted in billions of dollars of loss, right? So these are the fundamental concepts of ZTNA which needs to be built, and it is a journey of, I think, around 12 to 18 months, where you start with the fundamentals, build your step-by-step block stones, and then become ZTNA compliant.
Thank you, Commander Praveen. I have one more question as a follow-up. Business gives budget for security. Do you see how to balance between the user experience versus the niggle which ZTNA kind of concept would cause to the business? How do you balance that? Because user experiences definitely get compromised to a certain extent. Or how have you handled such conversations?
I mean, when people ask me, how was your transition been from defense forces to corporate, I think the first thing I say is that managing the business expectations. In the defense forces, security was more paramount than the underlying business. Once I move on the other side, business becomes the core of the complete ecosystem, right? In the corporate sector, you have to keep business first and look at security as an enabler to business rather than being a blocker. It's a very challenging thing, I'm sure most people sitting here would understand, whereby, as I said, usability and security are inversely proportional, but you have to balance it in such a way that usability never get compromised. I cannot say that you cannot do this because this is a threat. I have to find a way out for ensuring that that threat does not result in a business loss, On the other side, enabling the business to continue doing its, performing its core duties.
Thank you so much. Amal sir, how are you dealing with these new concepts that are coming into like CTM, for example, or AI for cybersecurity? How you as an organization are adopting this, or how are you putting it in place?
So, I mean, first things, one thing that I would like to spell out in terms of zero trust, just to set the context correct is, traditionally when we had been using, he mentioned about the private access, when we had been using VPN, traditionally we have been using two types of VPN. One is the full client VPN wherein you connect and then you access the sites which are within the organization, or there is a SSL VPN which you connect through a thing. In both the condition, you have to do one thing, either in the client-based VPN, you have to do one step further first, that you connect on the VPN and then you do your site work. In the second condition, the performance is slow. Now, with the zero trust thing coming in, of course, it may be a byproduct or a thing, but the advantage has been that some kind of intelligence has been built into the system, such that if you are trying to access a site which is internal to your organization or your department, automatically it can establish a connection and fetch you that site without the user being able to know. I am, in my practical experience, my management has been saying that, if I am in office, I directly access this site. If I am at home, why do I need to do something else before I access this site? So this kind of thing we have been able to answer when we have implemented this TNA. Coming to your portion about the AI use, see, AI is something that is like all pervasive, and whether you like it or not, you are been using it in your personal devices, in your mobile devices, in the organization also. As an organization also, we have gone for it in a big way, but we have also seen the bad sides of it, effect of it, particularly the hallucinating part. And you can understand, if we use AI in cyber security, unless we are sure that the results that is going to fetch will not be hallucinated, we go with a pinch of salt, because cyber security at times needs split-second decisions, block the site, isolate the system, all those things. If that happens, it becomes a problem. So we have been using AI to some extent to arrive at maybe a correlation thing faster, to do such things which can be done fast in a way, such a way that it doesn't damage, like blocking an IP for a particular connection which we have received a threat intel that it is a malicious IP and we are seeing some traffic going to it. Those things with AI we have been able to minimize the downtime. In fact, minimize the response time. We have been able to, like earlier when we were doing a manual analysis and all, it used to take up to 4 hours to do analysis and then block and all those actions happening. Now with this AI-based integration, this happens in a split second.
Thank you so much, Amalji. That was a very solid insight. Now may I request audience to ask questions? Please announce your name, organization, and you can ask your question.
I'm Pradeep Kaushal. I'm Deputy Director General in NIC in Cybersecurity Group NIC. So my question is related to UEM, basically not related to ZTA. We have not discussed anything about UEM as the topic suggests. So we are using UEM constructively to ensure compliance and improving the security posture of the endpoints. There are thousands of endpoints in government. Most of these are in ministries. Some of the critical ministries are also there. So we use UEM to ensure the compliance and improving the security posture by pushing the update scripts to ensure that these are compliant. But sometimes what happens is the hackers use the same mechanism to push a malicious script into the endpoints which gets infected, and that can spread into the online in one way, in one go. So from your point of view, how we can ensure that such thing doesn't happen from architecture point of view, from implementation point of view? So what are the precautions we have to take? UEM implementation.
So, I mean, a very good question, not only pertinent to UEM, but of late in the last 6 to 12 months, if you've seen, the focus of the bad actors has shifted towards the the tool vendors, because it becomes much easier if a tool gets compromised. The supply chain brings in a lot more customers, a lot more people get affected in this whole process than just one business or one user. The way to safeguard is I think common for any of the tool sets. Let it be a EDR, for example. If a EDR OEM or a identity providing OEM gets compromised, the supply chain would result in millions of customers getting compromised. So, I mean, safeguarding our tool set becomes one of the major things which we have to look at. I believe in the public sector largely most of these tools are hosted on-prem, right? That automatically reduces your attack surface. If you are able to safeguard that instance which hosts these tools, that more or less creates an air gap between your instance versus providing access. Second is, I'm sure for maintenance you would require to give access to some amount, a few of people who would be maintaining that tool. Maybe implementing zero trust onto those critical infrastructures to start with may give you that much amount of security and ensure that the bad actors don't get access to your tooling.
I would just like to add to what he said. When you are implementing any technology, it will have a good side and a bad side. So you have to anyway balance it. All of us would be aware of that pager incident of that Israel thing that happened. So those kind of things will happen. Of course, we have to take the necessary safeguards. And like he said, if we are on-prem, of course, we have some solace there. But nothing in this world is, there's nothing called foolproof security. Always you have to be ready for what is now the resilience part of it and how you can tackle that in case such an incident happens.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? So we just a couple of minutes left. From government department. That would be our priority for this session.
Sir, myself from Deputy CISO in Ministry of Commerce, Prabhakar Gar. Sir, we are talking of security, but we are using the third-party OS for building the cyber security framework, on which we really don't have our control. Can we achieve the cyber security safe space without knowing the architectural built-up of the OS that we are using? How safe are those OS on which we are planning to build our cyber security space?
So, anyone for NSCS is here? No, anyway, I can only say this much, that we are working on it. I have been a part of some team in NSCS also. There's already work going on this, on being self-reliant, not only in the OS area, in other critical areas also.
If there are no other questions, I think we can, okay.
Good evening, sir. My question relates to, the kind of disruption the AI can cause. Actually, we can see that the evolution is happening like from the machine learning, or I would say LLMs, to the agentic thing. Agentic AI is coming now. So, is it going to happen that our digital infrastructure is going to be disrupted to a greater extent due to this?
Last portion, I did not get you. What you said? Digital infrastructure?
Yeah, digital kind of disruption it may cause actually in the near future.
What interruption to digital public infrastructure can be caused due to agentic AI?
So, as I said, the story is about the fight between the good and the bad, the attackers versus the protectors. Once computers came in, that is when we thought, most of the businesses moving online, it's going to create, I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, the protectors have evolved with time. Same is with, I think, AI. Today, none of us, most businesses cannot say, no, it's a risk, I will not use AI. Again, it's again usability versus security. We have to use AI, we have to evolve, we have to try and build safeguards around AI to ensure that, it does not bring in a catastrophic, effect on the way we run businesses. But having said that, I don't think there is a way to say, okay, it's very risky, let's not use it. You know, that's out of question. It's only a matter of time where all of us across the globe would be using AI the way we use internet, right? There was a time where there was a very small population which was exposed to the internet. Today, I don't think that's the case. Similarly, I think AI is also in the same space where very soon it's going to be the next new normal. Everybody would be using it. So rather than thinking about what bad it can do, I think we should think about what are the safeguards we need to put in place ahead of it getting really exploited by the bad actors.
And we have a session coming up on this AI in cybersecurity. My colleagues Sukrita and Zubin would cover this aspect, how meaningfully you can use AI. With that, I would like to conclude this panel discussion. Thank you so much, Commander Praveen and Amal sir.
Thank you so much to all three of you. I would like Sukrit Ghosh, Director at DSCI, to felicitate all three of them. Can we have first, if we can have Commander Praveen, CISO at NICA. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for all three of them, please. Thank you so much. Commander Praveen Kumar. Mr. Amal Krishna, CISO at ONGC. Thank you so much, Amal sir. And moderator for this session, moderating this session, Vice President at DSCI, Mr. Prasad Deore. Ladies and gentlemen, huge round of applause, please, for this panel. Can we have a group photo? Thank you. Thank you to all of you. Thank you, sir.